Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about this MSNBC panel where they were covering the Super Tuesday elections. By the way, a rather dull affair since Donald Trump doesn't have a real primary opponent, despite the fact that Nikki Haley is being propped up not only by money, but by the mainstream media, and Joe Biden has no real primary opponents. They're not getting any attention, and he's just walloping everyone. I mean, one of the most successful campaigns against Joe Biden was an uncommitted campaign in the state of Michigan, and he even beat that. However, just because in reality the 2024 primary process has been rather a dull affair, that doesn't mean the folks over at MSNBC can't use this as a way to call you all evil white racists. And the reason you're evil white racists today is because you're concerned about the border, because I don't know if you're aware of this, just like Ocasio-Cortez said in a previous video that we covered, there is no immigration crisis. You made it up in your brain. You're just racist. Stop being an evil white racist. Now, we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about this. By the way, they snicker and laugh at you for being concerned about this, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. But I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay.
And also on April 27th, I will be at the Vulcan Gas Company in Austin, Texas for the Minds Fest. Link to tickets in the description of this video.
They're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border.
So right off the bat, off the top of this clip, you have Joy Reid bringing up race, saying that the Republicans are voting on race. That's what they do. They're so hyper-focused on race. Also pay no attention to the fact that Joy Reid herself is the one injecting race into absolutely everything. On top of that, is Joy Reid a secret MAGA supporter? Because this Trumpian style hairdo that she has is kind of making me think that maybe, just maybe, she's playing five-dimensional chess and being so bad at her job, so terrible, making up all these crazy race allegations because she actually wants people to hate the Democratic side because she is endorsed by Trump, and this is her Illuminati messaging right there on the top of her head. Now, obviously, I'm just kidding about that, but I do want to go into what Joy Reid says because she tries to merge the immigration, race issues, black issues, and all that, and that's wildly inappropriate and incredibly stupid, especially considering who appears to be the most upset about these immigration issues.
The idea that they can't get whatever job they want, a black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI, that is what they're voting on.
So we're going to run through Joy Reid's stupid talking points one by one, because I think you guys will enjoy that methodology. Now, I want to bring up the fact that she's trying to merge the immigration issues with black people because she's still trying to put together and hold together that intersectional coalition. This is obviously the strategy of the Democratic Party, and that's flawed, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But the second thing that she wanted to point out was the fact that, all these people are voting because they say they didn't get a job because a black person did.
The idea that they can't get whatever job they want, a black person got it.
Now, to be clear, I didn't write an article about how the Fortune 100 or the S&P 100 companies decided publicly to stop hiring white people and then overwhelmingly did that to the tune of 90+%. They did that themselves in response to DEI training, in response to the Black Lives Matter riots. So yeah, when you have a country with discrimination laws and those laws seem to only be enforced in one direction, and on top of that, these companies are advertising their discrimination in the paper through the numbers, that might anger some people, but let's be honest, most people aren't voting on the fact that the S&P 100 companies are actively discriminating against white people. Secondly, she brought up the college thing. She's still upset about affirmative action.
Therefore, drive all the blacks out of the colleges.
You're not entitled to admission to university based on the color of your skin. I know that's heartbreaking for Joy Reid. I know that's devastating to her, but you have to actually earn your position. And B, I am a big believer in the mismatch hypothesis that updating these people to places that they don't deserve actually causes them to underperform and then turns people who are black, who are Hispanic, who would be successful in their lives into artificial failures. I will link an essay in the description of this, which will explain why I am under the impression that affirmative action policies aren't even good for minorities. And by the way, the Bach and Bowen research into that is very flawed, and I will find something to address that as well. Now, finally, because Joy Reid wants to link these two issues, the blacks and immigration, I want to point out that black people are moving towards Trump, at least according to the polling. I'll believe it when I see it in the voting, based on immigration. Now, I see a lot of progressives talking about how, oh, the Democrats didn't do voting rights, and that's why black people are moving. But if you ask them over and over again, it's the immigration issue. And the reason why is because they see these people who are foreign born, who are defrauding the asylum system, being entitled to more benefits and getting benefits that are being taken away directly from them. And I played video after video. I've done entire videos on this particular situation. So yeah, she can try to merge those issues all she wants. But when I do a story about black residents of Chicago being upset about resources being diverted and their parks being shut down in order to put up migrant shelters, or I do a story out of the city of New York where black New Yorkers lined up to get their Thanksgiving turkeys like they normally get each and every year, only to find out that migrants, people who are non-citizens, lined up hours before them and grabbed all the turkeys, they're not mad at the evil white racists with their evil white racism trying to break up and fragment the intersectional coalition. They're angry about these non-citizens being prioritized over them when they see the dollar amounts that are being spent per citizen on their food, and black people in this country that are in poverty are experiencing inflation like the rest of us. They're not angry at those white people out there that are just trying to make them all break up the coalition. They're angry at them paying higher grocery prices while other people are throwing out food for free that was given to them.
The just voting specifically on racial animus at this stage, it isn't about economics.
No, which is why Trump killed the immigration bill.
Correct.
That's why. And because otherwise he can't run against the other and brown people and people who don't look like him, like his supporters, his base of supporters, coming across the border and scaring people and killing people or whatever he's threatening out there.
So here you have Jen Psaki circling back to the racism allegations. By the way, this is the former press secretary for Joseph R. Biden, now acting in that role, but getting paid by MSNBC, saying that yes, the evil orange man is trying to scare you about brown people and racism and all that and whatever else he's threatening, but he killed the immigration bill. Now, to be clear, Donald Trump definitely does not want Joe Biden to have a win on immigration. Whatever the merits of the bill you want to debate, we could talk about that another time. I think there are reasons to be opposed to it. The fact of the matter is, Trump did not want that win. That is a political calculation. I'm not going to lie to you about that. And by the way, I actually think that's going to be a devastating political calculation, because if the evil orange man wins election in 2024, the Democrats are going to stonewall any solution on this particular issue, because they're going to go back to saying anything the orange man does on immigration is evil white racism. Conversely, if Biden wins re-election, what incentive does he have to do anything about the border? Because he just proved that he could ignore this major issue for 3.5 years into his presidency, kind of pretend to address it later on, and then he will still be rewarded with re-election. So I would rather get something done now that's tangible, get the best possible bill that you absolutely can. I like the idea of leveraging the Ukraine aid, of leveraging the Israeli aid, which is going to pass anyway eventually, in order to do so, because we got to do something about these asylum fraudsters. And by the way, the results of this election are likely not going to result in any positive change.
I mean, if you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue.
Yeah.
I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested area. Build a wall.
So I absolutely love this clip right here, where they're like, I live in Virginia, and immigration is considered the number one issue by Virginia voters, which is ridiculous. And they're all laughing, they're all yucking it up. You stupid rubes, you stupid white people out there in Virginia, across this country, that are concerned about the immigration issue, how dare you do so? I mean, it's not like these migrants are traveling all over the country and creating crises in places like New York, Chicago, Denver, everywhere in this nation, exhausting their resources and all of that. It's not like there's also a similar program to send these migrants to the District of Columbia, which, by the way, Virginia does border, and those people end up in the state of Virginia. You're just an ignorant rube. You're just stupid. You're just racist. Shut up, racist, and stop it with your evil white racism. That's the tone that they're going for right here. And saying that, by the way, that if you're in the state of Virginia, just because you don't technically border the nation of Mexico, where a lot of these migrants are coming in, then therefore you should have no opinion on the subject matter. You should just let this go, which is kind of amazing. It's kind of a wonderful admission right here, because the policy of the Democratic Party for a very long time in this country is that border states can go screw themselves. They got to deal with it. They got to pay the costs. And hey, we don't live near the border, so we're not going to worry about it. And we're going to vote blue no matter who in a lot of these states because immigration doesn't really affect them. Well, guess what? That day is over. The migrants are coming for your sanctuary city programs. They're coming for your welfare programs. They're in your cities. They're not only in border states, in part thanks to Greg Abbott, but in large part due to the fact that you put up all these magnets for them. So people are experiencing this. And now that they've gotten a taste of what Texas has had to deal with, by the way, tenfold for decades in this country, what Arizona has had to deal with all these other border states have had to deal with, now they're against it. Now they're pissed off. Now they sound uncomfortable when they speak about the migrants. Again, go listen to black voters talk about them in any of these town hall meetings, and what you'll realize is that the much milder speaking out against immigration that they called white people evil white racists for is nowhere close to what you're getting from those people in those cities. And by the way, again, they have a right to decide who comes into their nation, just like all of us as Americans have a right to decide who comes into our nation, and we also have a right to prioritize whatever issues we damn well please as our top line issue.
What? I mean, when I was in New Hampshire, people were talking about the northern border as a threat because Trump has indoctrinated people with this fear of people who do not look like them being a threat to them.
So I love that Jen Psaki said that. I absolutely love it because her tone, the way she wants to come off, is that these people in New Hampshire, these stupid, ignorant rubes, these ignorant white people, this white trash human garbage, said that the northern border was a problem because Trump has convinced them of that and they're so stupid. But the thing is, Jen Psaki is either lying or incredibly unintelligent, uninformed, or both, because guess what? The northern border is becoming an increasing problem in the United States of America. You can look at report after report, if you actually cared about the news, if you actually cared about information, about how migrants are now flying to Canada in order to try to cross the border from the north because they perceive the southern border as more secure and they think that this is a good way to get asylum. So yeah, they'll make it to Mexico, get a plane ticket, fly to the north and cross. And by the way, a bunch of migrants have died trying this because they try crossing into New York, northern New York, which is incredibly cold, and they freeze to death because they're not prepared for that winter weather. So Jen Psaki's like, these idiot rubes of New Hampshire are talking about the northern border, not realizing that those idiot rubes are 100% right, and she's the fool. She's the doofus. She's wrong, and it's embarrassing. But that's the thing. These people don't give a damn. They don't care. They don't live in reality. The only time they experience illegal immigrants is when they're cleaning their homes, as Kelly Osbourne said, scrubbing their toilets.
And if you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's not.
In the sense that, you know what I mean? Like, when I'm saying
there's more jobs to be
in LA, they always,
but they don't.
And in their mind, this underclass of citizens that doesn't look them directly in the eye is a non-problem because they're subservient to them and they subordinate their needs and monitor their children. So when you average everyday normal people talk about this particular issue, talk about your resources getting eaten up by the migrant crisis, they laugh at you as they get some of these migrants to plant another rose bush for them to look at and enjoy.
Because Trump has indoctrinated people with this fear of people who do not look like them being a threat to them.
Now this I find to be incredibly annoying and incredibly obnoxious from someone like Jen Psaki, because obviously, you guys out there in the audience know this, I'm half Puerto Rican. I am half a Latin. Now to be clear, my Puerto Rican side has no immigration issues at all whatsoever because Puerto Ricans are natural-born American citizens. But when I look at Latin people from anywhere in the world, you know what I realize? For the most part, they look like the majority of my Puerto Rican side of the family. In fact, I went to Little Havana a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure I saw about 6 different women that happened to be my great-grandmother, which is weird because she died years ago, yet she was on the street 6 different times in just this little strip. That's how similar these people look to people I love and my family and all that. But guess what? I'm still against asylum fraud. It's an absolute disaster. In fact, I'm probably more open to immigration than the majority of people out there in my audience, the way you feel about it right now. But asylum fraud is another level of absurdity because these people are getting all of these additional benefits. Everything negative you've been told about illegal immigration your whole life is doubly true times 10 with these people. And on top of that, if you're legitimately trying to claim asylum, you have to deal with hundreds of thousands to millions of fraudsters right now gumming up the system. So no, it doesn't have anything to do with me being scared of the Browns or anything like that, scared of the Latins or scared of the Africans that are coming in or the Chinese that are coming in, because the border is so porous right now and the situation is so ridiculous it's incentivizing everybody to travel there. It has to do with the fact that we are creating a magnet for a disastrous scenario, and it's gumming up the whole purpose of the asylum system. And we know for a fact these are economic migrants because they skip over about 7 different countries before they get here. We got people coming from China. They get on a plane. They pass through God knows how many countries in that 7,000-mile journey. Africa, same situation. And we're pretending like they're legitimate asylum seekers. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's insane. So yeah, Jen, if there was a white country or majority white country where millions upon millions of people were committing asylum fraud, creating all sorts of problems, draining the resources of not just the border towns, which by the way is bad enough and evil enough on its own, but all these different cities in the interior of the country, I would be against them too. I would have a problem with that as well, but there is no such country right now, so you're just talking out of your you-know-where.
And every election cycle, particularly when there's a Democratic incumbent, we get reminded about the borders, and the borders become a thing again, and then if there's a Republican in office, we don't think about them anymore.
Yeah, Rachel, here's the thing. Joe Biden, and I have the clip right here, said he wanted these people to surge to the border during the Democratic primary because that's who we are.
In fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are.
That is exactly what he delivered on his election promise, and that's why we have a record number of cases in the immigration back courts, and that is a problem. You can deny it all you want. You can snicker. You can laugh. Again, you can have your housekeeper clean your toilet and be like, that's not a problem, but all of us have to deal with the consequences of this situation.
It's the deficit and the border. You make these things an issue. You make them into boogeymen. You make them into something that grabs you from under the bed at night as soon as you wake up. As long as there's a Democratic incumbent to blame on it, you make sure that nothing's ever done to fix either, and then you hope that people stop talking about them once you've got a Republican in office.
Now, again, I can't stand the whole entire tone and tenor of this conversation, but to be perfectly fair, to be perfectly honest, that part about not doing anything when you're in office is not only true of the deficit, which she's right about right there, but it's also true of the immigration situation. I want this problem to be solved. I know it's good for generating voters for an election, but the fact of the matter is you have to actually try to solve it because there are serious problems, there are serious consequences to it, and we have a bunch of different cities going bankrupt in this country, a bunch of problems at the border, and it's producing all of these negative problems. But the one thing that is true, even though they mocked the idea, pretended it didn't exist, brought up these supposed rubes in New Hampshire that knew more than the former press secretary, is the fact that, yeah, politically, nobody wants to get this done. The Democrats want to use it as a wedge issue to talk about the dreamers and their dreams and all that, because those, of course, are the most sympathetic of people who came here illegally. And the Republicans want to gin up the hysteria so that they can win election. It's just a fact. I can tell you that I think that the Republican rhetoric is better and the Democratic rhetoric and policy proposals are worse. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to trying to get something done, both sides actively do nothing on the issue. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about MSNBC, mocking you for being concerned about immigration. Till next time.